While you were gone, Jack Miller fled with his first love on our wedding day. He would send me a picture of himself with her from each new place they went, as if to make fun of me. Their 99th picture arrived as I was having afternoon tea with imported French pastries while getting a manicure. However, after a 3-year absence, Jack made a surprise comeback. "How dare you fool around with another man while I was gone?" he yelled, pointing to my wedding picture with someone else. I couldn't help but chuckle. "What other man? I have been married to my husband for 3 years now." "Jack, you didn't actually think I was waiting for you all this time, did you?" Wedding day. Neon. On my wedding day with Jack Miller, he ran off with his first love. As if to taunt me, he would send a photo of himself with her from every new destination they visited. I was getting a manicure and enjoying imported French pastries with my afternoon tea when I received their 99th photo. But after 3 years of absence, Jack suddenly returned. He pointed at my wedding photo with someone else and shouted, "How dare you fool around with another man while I was gone?" I couldn't help but laugh. "What other man? I've been married to my husband for 3 years now." "Jack, you didn't actually think I was waiting for you all this time, did you?" Jack glared at me and shouted, "You think I'll believe your excuses? Tell me which man you've been fooling around with. I'll make you both regret it." When he yanked my arm, my joint made a cracking sound that left me wincing in pain. My mother-in-law, Evelyn, heard the commotion and came out. Seeing a strange man grabbing my arm, she rushed to help me. "Who are you? Let go of her right now." Jack saw an ordinary-looking older woman approaching and assumed she was our housekeeper. He shoved her to the ground. "Old lady, this is between me and her. Stay out of it." When I saw Evelyn lose her balance and fall, I called out anxiously, "Mom! Are you okay?" Jack froze when he heard me call her mom. Then the anger in his eyes seemed ready to explode as he gripped my arm even tighter. "Mom? That's your mother-in-law? I thought you'd done better for yourself. Looking at how shabby her dress is, I can tell your new man isn't worth much." Tears streamed down my face as he squeezed my arm, leaving a purple bruise. "Have you lost your mind? You left me alone for 3 years without a word, and now you come running back. Don't forget, we never even had the ceremony when you left. We weren't officially married." Jack paused at my words, then began pulling me toward the door. "Everyone knows our families arranged our marriage. You can't just say we weren't married. This villa belongs to my family. You moved in with your boy toy and now you're talking back to me? You've got some nerve." Jack dragged me from the villa complex all the way to the intersection, only stopping at the busiest spot where everyone could see. "Wendy, you found another man while I was abroad. Have you no shame? This villa is mine. Move out immediately and pay me $5 million in back rent. Otherwise, I'll completely ruin your reputation and your family's." In the crowd, I spotted a familiar figure, Jack's first love, the woman Jack had run away with. She smiled smugly at me, her eyes full of contempt. I managed a pale smile. Jack had already humiliated me when he suddenly left, and now he was back to embarrass me again. I had originally married Jack to save my family's business, thinking our marriage would rescue the company. But until he left, my family's company never received the investment funds, and eventually had to declare bankruptcy. The wealthy neighbors in the villa complex had overheard Jack's accusations and already believed most of what he said. No wonder this woman rarely comes out. She's been keeping a lover in that villa. I thought she was rich, but she's just spending some man's money. What a little tramp. Just then, my mother-in-law came limping out, clutching her back and glaring angrily at Jack. Let go of her hand right now. When my son gets back, you'll be sorry. Wendy, don't be afraid. Mom will protect you. Hearing this, Jack wasn't intimidated at all. Instead, he dragged me along the ground, making me slide slowly. You old hag, you dare threaten me? It doesn't matter who you think you are, you're still squatting in my villa. Pack your things and get out. The small stones on the ground tore at my legs, leaving 2 trails of blood behind me. Jack, this villa is mine. Go home and ask your parents what really happened back then. I'm warning you to let me go, or you're dead. This woman isn't my housekeeper. Be careful who you offend. Just as Jack was about to speak, Annie interrupted him. She pushed angrily through the crowd and kicked me hard in the chest. You little slut, why are you crying and putting on this act? Are you trying to seduce the rich men around here? Wasn't it enough to seduce some pretty boy behind Jack's back? Now you're flirting with everyone. Her kick left my chest aching, like a ball of cotton was stuck in my throat. When Evelyn saw Annie hit me, she rushed over to shield me with her body. Wendy, are you okay? Hold on a little longer while I find a way to save you. Annie, seeing someone dare to stop her, angrily grabbed her hair and slapped her face several times. You old fool! Just because you moved in, you really think this villa is yours? Never mind that Wendy Chancer is trash. I'd beat your pretty boy son too if he were here. My mother-in-law lost her balance from the blows and fell to the ground, not moving. Seeing her covered in dirt, I cried out in anguish, Mom! I turned and shouted at Annie and Jack. If you have a problem, take it out on me. Don't hit my mom. She's over 60 years old. Have you no conscience? This comment provoked Jack. He grabbed my hair and pulled his belt off, whipping me over and over. Forgive. I lay on the ground, unable to move, barely making out the shadows of people moving around me. I closed my eyes in despair, thinking I might die right there. Just then, a man in the crowd couldn't stand it anymore and stepped forward, shouting, Stop! Jack looked up at the bald man and sneered. Are you one of Wendy's lovers too? Why do you care so much about her? She must be good in bed if so many of you like her. You rich wives better be careful. This woman will sleep with anyone. Don't let her steal your husbands. His words made the wealthy wives in the crowd look at me with suspicion. Their once sympathetic eyes turned cold, as if they wanted to spit on me. The man stood in front of me, facing off with Jack. Sir, please watch what you say. No matter what, you can't beat a woman in public like this. Hearing this, Jack's eyes darted between us, then he punched the man in the nose and straddled him, beating him repeatedly. You think I'm scared of you? I'll kill you both, you adulterous couple. Through my hazy vision, I could see the Good Samaritan's face becoming bruised and swollen from the beating. Stop involving innocent people. If you have a problem, take it out on me. Jack sneered and walked slowly toward me, pressing his foot on my face and applying more pressure. I won't spare this lover of yours or this old woman. You're all trash. Today I'll teach you a lesson. Who gave you permission to make yourselves at home in my villa? Then Annie and Jack straddled my mother-in-law and me, slapping our faces repeatedly. I could feel my teeth loosening from the blows. My mother-in-law had barely opened her eyes when Annie's strikes dazed her. She was too old to fight back against Annie. Soon her face was covered in blood, making her expression unrecognizable. When I saw her head loll weakly to one side, I shouted in shock. The emotional distress triggered my asthma, and I began gasping for air. Please, please, get my medicine. I couldn't feel pain anymore, only the sensation of someone choking me, making it impossible to breathe. But Jack violently pushed my hand away, found a bottle of medication in my pocket, and threw it far away. Want your medicine? Stop pretending. I never knew you had asthma. Annie stood nearby, laughing exuberantly with one hand resting on Jack's shoulder. Jack, she cheated on you. Why should we care if she lives or dies? If she dies, it's because heaven wants to punish her for being so promiscuous. The two of them worked together to lift me up and began tearing at my clothes. You like being a slut? Today we'll give you what you want. I watched as half my top was ripped away, while several onlookers recorded with their phones. By now I could barely breathe, only begging Jack over and over. Give me my medicine, or I'll die. I'm begging you, just give me the medicine, and I'll forgive everything that happened. Jack acted like he'd heard something amusing and tossed me to the ground like a rag. I should be the one settling scores with you, and you dare talk about forgiveness? What a joke! Get out of my villa today and pay me 5 million. Otherwise, you'll regret it. As he spoke, his eyes fixed on my exposed chest, and he couldn't help swallowing. If I'd known you had such a great figure, I would have slept with you before I left. It's not too late now. Give me some fun, and I'll give you your medicine. Jack dangled the asthma inhaler, then picked me up and carried me toward the villa. No, don't touch me. Please, let me go. I clutched my chest tightly, continuously begging him to spare me. Jack's eyes roamed over my body with desire. Now you're begging me? Too late. If you please me well, I won't charge you for 3 years of rent. Then he pressed his full weight on me. Feeling the unfamiliar scent on my body, I closed my eyes in despair. Suddenly, an urgent car horn blared. A limited edition Maybach drove into the courtyard. A dignified man hurriedly stepped out of the car and shouted, "Stop! What are you doing here?" Jack's dismissive expression instantly turned fawning when he recognized the man's face. He stepped forward and said, "Mr. Henderson, what brings you here?" "Mr. Henderson, I've been trying to meet with you, but your secretary always says you're unavailable. Running into you today must be fate. I'm the CEO of Jack Miller Company. We'd like to explore overseas markets with you. Would you have time to discuss a partnership?" Jack said, trying to impress him. Lucas Henderson ignored the business card Jack offered him, his eyes darting anxiously toward me. "Are you all right? Seeing the numerous injuries on me and Evelyn, he stared at Jack with clenched fists that made cracking sounds. Just as he finished speaking, an ambulance arrived and loaded both my mother-in-law and me inside. Jack jogged over and waved to Annie, signaling her to come. "These two are just homeless who took over my villa. They're not worth your concern. I was just getting rid of them. This is my wife, Annie Simmons. We've been working overseas together for several years." Annie, seeing Lucas's handsome face, lowered her head shyly and kept adjusting her clothes. Lucas gave a cold laugh and punched Jack squarely in the nose. "Trash! What kind of trash are you to think you can do business with me? The two people being loaded into that ambulance are my mother and my wife. I'll make you pay for this." Jack's smile froze on his face. He pointed at me, struggling to speak. "The Chancer family went bankrupt. How could she possibly be connected to you? Don't let her fool you. Our company has a strong presence overseas. You'll regret not partnering with us, Mr. Henderson." Lucas scoffed at his words. "Whatever issues you have with Wendy will be resolved when she wakes up. As for you, I know exactly what kind of person you are." Jack tried to explain further, but Lucas didn't give him the chance and got into the ambulance. He held my hand, looking guilty. "Wendy, this is all my fault. I failed to protect you and Mom." I weakly opened my eyes and said through tears, "Lucas, I will personally get revenge for this." After saying this, I slowly closed my eyes, comforted by Lucas's presence. My entire body ached as if I'd been run over by a truck. Even with my eyes closed, I could still see Jack's vicious face as he tore at my clothes. I would definitely get my revenge. Just wait, Jack. When I woke up, it was the next morning. Seeing Lucas by my hospital bed, I reached out and gently touched his head, feeling concerned for him. "You don't need to stay with me. How's Mom? It's all my fault I got her into this mess." My voice was raspy, and every movement caused pain throughout my body. Lucas looked at me with concern. "Mom's fine. She woke up last night. You focus on getting better. I'll handle everything else." After reassuring me, he hurried back to the company to take care of business. I spent a week in the hospital before feeling like I'd gotten my life back. On the day of my discharge, I looked at the bright sun outside and slowly formed a plan for revenge in my mind. "Jack, just wait for my payback." I heard that Lucas and his men recently beat up Jack and sabotaged all his business deals. That's why Jack and his people have been trying to see Lucas at his company. I asked Lucas about it, and he told me Jack's funding overseas had dried up, so he returned looking for investors. Since some people here aren't up to date on overseas news, he's actually managed to scam quite a few investors. I can't wait to see how he tries to scam me. I stopped my car at the entrance to the company and stood beside Jack and Annie, wearing expensive clothes that radiated wealth. Well, do you really have the nerve to come looking for my husband? Did you think you'd get away with beating me that day?" When Jack saw me, a flash of guilt appeared in his eyes. Annie looked at me with disdain, but after the beating Lucas had given her, she now knew to keep her head down and didn't say a word. I walked up to Annie and slapped her hard across the face. "You dare glare at me? Do you think everyone is as cheap as you are? You're begging my husband for help and can't even be polite to me? Let me teach you the proper attitude when asking for favors. I rolled up my sleeves and slapped Annie several more times, hitting her so hard she lost her balance in her high heels and fell to the ground. Annie clutched her stinging face in pain, not daring to say anything, only looking to Jack for help. She's hitting my face, and you're just standing there like a post. When she saw Jack wasn't moving, she angrily got up to hit me, but I simply stuck out my leg and tripped her, making her fall flat on her face. Annie's mouth hit the ground, chipping one of her front teeth. Jack stared at my outfit, so different from my usual style, his eyes lingering over me with fascination. Wendy, we haven't seen each other for 3 years. Don't you care about me at all? Whatever Lucas can give you, I can give you too. You were supposed to marry me. Come back to me, please. His tone had a hint of pleading, as if he truly loved me. If I didn't know his true nature, I might have fallen for his act. But I wasn't the same naive girl who had waited for him. I raised my face and looked him straight in the eye. Have you forgotten? Just days ago, you and your mistress beat me up. Why should I care about you? You ran off with her and left me behind. We never even got married. Who says we're a couple? How dare you compare yourself to Lucas Henderson? Did you leave your brain overseas when you came back? With each sentence I spoke, Jack's face grew paler. He clearly hadn't expected me to say such harsh words, and he looked at me with tears in his eyes. Wendy, I know I made a mistake. I realize that now. Can you give me another chance? I was just blinded back then. Now I've returned, and I've made money to marry you. Prison. After speaking, Jack got down on one knee and slowly opened a ring box he pulled from his pocket. Annie, still lying on the ground, saw the ring she had been dreaming of being offered to me. She scrambled to her feet and tried to grab it. Jack, you were the one who begged me to run away with you. You said Wendy was boring as watching paint dry and swore you'd only love me forever. I'm warning you, if you dare dump me, I'll drag you down with me. Annie snatched the ring and glared at us suspiciously. I snickered and glanced at her. Don't worry. No one wants to fight you for such cheap goods. You must have lost quite a bit of money overseas if you think that little ring is something special. How pitiful. With that, I was escorted by staff members to the CEO's private elevator. Stepping out of the elevator, I saw Lucas waiting for me at the door. So, does that feel better now? I smiled and threw myself into Lucas's arms. It's all right. I only gave him a hard time today. The main event has yet to come. I glanced down at Jack and Annie being escorted out by security and smiled. Then I called the secretary's office. Gather all the information about Jack's overseas finances and send it to our business partners. I was confident this would stop him from continuing his scams. Soon I heard that everyone was turning Jack away at the door. His charade was finally over. He already had significant debt overseas, and now he couldn't con any money locally either. Somehow he figured out I was the one who leaked the information, and he angrily came to wait for me at the mansion. I was returning home in my car, on a video call with my best friend. I will invest all the business deals you offered. Lucas gives me $30,000 a month as spending money, and I'm saving it all." As I got out of the car, I watched Jack's expression change from snarling anger to a fawning smile. "Wendy, I was wrong. Give me a chance to prove my sincerity." With that, Jack dropped to his knees with a thud, both hands tugging at my clothes. I looked at him impatiently and pointed my phone camera at him. "Do you like me, or do you like my money? Give you a chance to prove yourself, then you run off with my cash? Are you dreaming? Was it your twin brother who beat me last week? Where's all that toughness now?" Jack didn't get angry at my mockery. Instead, he slapped himself hard across the face twice. "It was my fault. I was blind to your value. I'll hit myself. Does that make you happy, Wendy?" Jack glanced at me cautiously, his tone full of desperation to please. He thought we were alone in the darkness, but he didn't know my best friend was live streaming. She's a fairly well-known influencer in our area. Realizing this, I suddenly had a brilliant idea. "If you want my forgiveness, kneel down and bang your head on the ground a few times. Maybe if I'm happy enough, I'll let a little money slip through my fingers for you." When Jack heard I might give him money, his eyes immediately lit up. He began banging his head on the ground repeatedly. When he saw no reaction from me, he banged harder. While bowing, he also slapped his own face. "I was wrong. I'm so sorry, my lady. Please forgive this nobody and give me a chance to live. I promise to worship you from now on. If you say east, I won't dare go west. I'll be your most obedient dog." Hearing his words, I couldn't help but laugh as I stepped on his hand. "You're my obedient dog? Then come lick my shoes clean." Jack hesitated for only a moment before eagerly bending down to lick my designer heels. I looked at him with disgust. What a well-behaved dog indeed. I couldn't wait to see his reaction when he realized the whole country was watching his undignified performance. So I took out my phone and opened my friend's live stream. "Come here, good dog. From now on, you're famous." Jack stared at the phone in shock, seeing that the live stream had over 100,000 viewers. His face instantly turned pale. "Wendy, you're setting me up? You've been live streaming behind my back." Jack angrily stood up and raised his fist as if to hit me. This time I wasn't afraid of him anymore. I pointed to the security camera newly installed at the door. "I haven't even settled the score for when you beat me last time. Are you looking to go to prison? And I'm setting you up? Did I force you to kneel and bow to me?" I looked at him with contempt, strode past him, and walked to the trash can where I threw away my high heels that he had licked, replacing them with the flats I wore while driving. After closing the door, I watched through the video doorbell as Jack hurled angry insults before finally leaving in frustration. Evelyn came out to greet me when I returned. When she saw Jack, her eyes filled with disgust. "Why don't you just call the police and let them handle him? It's disgusting that we have to deal with someone like him." "Lucas." I took her arm reassuringly. "Mom, going to jail would be too easy for him. Once I'm done having my fun, I'll deal with him personally." The next day, Jack was trending on social media. Sharp-eyed internet users began digging up his past, discovering how he had dumped me 3 years ago. All public opinion quickly shifted to my side, though I did pay for quite a few fake comments to help it along. With my encouragement, everyone learned that Jack had only returned to the country to raise funds because he couldn't make it overseas anymore. The Miller family had once been a major corporation, but after Jack dumped me, they faced Lucas's retaliation and had since disappeared from the business world. With no support left, Jack's company overseas quickly declared bankruptcy. He and Annie could only survive by selling their luxury items. I found him while he was trying to sell his Patek Philippe watch. When Jack saw me, he retreated a couple of steps cautiously, trying to distance himself. I pointed to the still visible bruises on my face and looked at the watch in his hand. I still haven't settled the score for you beating me. That's a nice watch. I'll take it as payment for my medical bills. As soon as I finished speaking, a bodyguard stepped forward from behind me, snatched the watch from Jack's hand, and respectfully handed it to me. When Jack saw his last valuable possession being taken, he desperately tried to get it back. But my bodyguard kept him at bay, making it impossible for him to touch me. I sneered, casually dropped the watch on the ground, and crushed it thoroughly under my heel. This watch was Jack's hope, and I was determined to destroy it. You want it back? Who do you think you are? If you'd been a good dog, I might have given you some money. I walked over and lightly patted Jack's cheek, then turned and walked away in my heels. The $1 million watch's screen was completely shattered, making it worthless to sell. After I left, Jack fell to his knees in anguish, staring at the broken watch in his hands, his fists clenched tightly. With no way to sell the watch, he had no choice but to go back and discuss with Annie what to do about their financial situation. What he didn't know was that Annie already knew about my visit. I had even deliberately had someone mislead her, making her think Jack and I were rekindling our old relationship. Annie was completely devoted to Jack, and I was curious to see how she would react to suddenly thinking she was being abandoned. I sat in my car, quietly following Jack back to the hotel. They had sold all their properties in the country and could only afford to stay in hotels now. As soon as Jack walked into the hotel lobby, he saw Annie approaching with a bottle of water. "Annie, what are you doing?" He looked at Annie in confusion. Given their current notoriety, they tried to stay indoors as much as possible. After all, those paparazzi were like cats stalking mice, following them around to capture any hint of scandal. Annie gripped the water bottle tightly in her hand and confronted Jack. "Where did you go this morning?" Jack didn't want Annie to know that I had humiliated him, so his eyes flickered uncomfortably. He scratched the back of his head and laughed nervously. "I went to look for investors. I'm planning to start fresh here." Hearing his answer, Annie let out a bitter laugh and threw some photos in Jack's face. "What's this? Are you planning to abandon me and run off with Wendy to live the good life?" She shouted angrily at Jack and slapped him hard across the face. Jack was stunned. He touched his cheek and stared at the photos in disbelief. Annie smiled faintly and tore the photos in half, tossing the pieces into the air. Jack held his face, angrily grabbing Annie by the throat. "Have you lost your mind? Don't you see someone is trying to frame me?" Annie struggled to breathe in his grip, but her lips twisted into a tragic smile. "I'll never let you go to another woman. So, Jack, let's go to hell together." With that, she unscrewed the water bottle and splashed its contents over Jack. When the colorless liquid burned his skin, Jack released her in pain and fell to the floor, writhing in agony. Someone quickly called the police. The police took Annie into custody and brought her to the station. Jack was rushed to the hospital. With extensive burns across his body, he would likely need skin grafts. When I walked into the hospital, I saw him covered in yellowish, foul-smelling fluid. I couldn't help but cover my nose in disgust. When Jack saw me, his eyes lit up with hope, but his throat could only produce hoarse sounds. I walked over, looked at him, and smiled as I pulled out a stack of photos. "Are you wondering who took these pictures of you? It was me. This was my carefully prepared gift for you. Do you like it? Did your pig brain really think I'd take you back after you abandoned me? What qualities do you have that would make me choose you over Lucas? Look in the mirror at what a mess you are." I spoke to him one word at a time. "Light." The light in Jack's eyes gradually dimmed until he lay on the bed, numb to my insults. When I finished berating him, I turned to look outside the hospital room. "You can come in now." Jack looked at me in confusion, then toward the door. 2 police officers walked in, showed Jack their badges, and spoke politely. "Hello, you're involved in a serious assault case. Please cooperate with us." Jack's eyes were fixed on me, his mouth trying to form words. Unfortunately, Annie had damaged his throat, and he couldn't speak a single word. He lay on the hospital bed like a lamb waiting for slaughter, awaiting his judgment. As I left the hospital, the police were still formally taking Jack's statement. But Jack couldn't even speak. After receiving basic treatment for his injuries, Jack was sent to prison. The burns on his body, without proper long-term care, became repeatedly infected. There wasn't a single unaffected area on his body. After a month in prison, Jack was rushed to the hospital with a severe fever. As soon as I heard, I sent the country's top burn specialists to treat him, sparing no expense. 3 months later, doctors managed to take skin from his back and buttocks to cover the burned areas. His face, however, would never be the same again. After the treatment, he could speak again, though his voice sounded like a cracked bell. Eventually, he was approved for discharge. At the hospital, doctors told Jack that a kind person had saved him by paying his medical bills. He wondered who it could be until he saw me. That's when he finally understood. After everything that had happened, he no longer believed I would have any lingering feelings for him. "You saved me? What do you really want?" I sat in my luxury car, admiring my freshly done manicure. Outside stood a monster covered in scars. "You brought this all on yourself. So cherish it. This is the price for abandoning me 3 years ago. Don't think I've been pining for you, I just like to finish what I start." I tossed my water bottle out the window. It hit Jack squarely on the head, knocking his cap to the ground. People passing by the hospital screamed when they saw Jack's face. That must be a monster. Those marks all over his face are terrifying. Why doesn't this freak stay home instead of coming out to disgust people? If there weren't police around, I'd kick him away myself. How unlucky to see such a disgusting creature. Hearing these cruel words, Jack quickly bent down to retrieve his cap. With handcuffs on, it took him several attempts to put it back on amid the mockery. I watched as the police pushed him into the patrol car. I rolled up my window and sped past them. Jack looked up and caught my eye as my car disappeared around the corner. He was then taken back to prison to serve his sentence. The judge had sentenced him to 5 years for beating me, a case that had attracted widespread attention. He would have plenty to suffer in prison. When I got home, Lucas, who hadn't been around much lately, was reading the newspaper on the sofa. Seeing me return, he came over and spun me around in his arms. "Are you satisfied now? You even paid for his treatment. If you ask me, you shouldn't have bothered with him." Seeing Lucas's jealous expression, I gave him a kiss on the cheek. "Stop being jealous. He can't even compare to a single strand of your hair. Why bother with him? Do you know what people call him now? The disgusting monster." I burst out laughing and fell into Lucas's embrace as he looked at me adoringly. Just then, Evelyn came out of her room upstairs and teased us. "When are you two going to give me a grandchild?" I lowered my head shyly under Lucas's loving gaze as he took my hand and led me to our bedroom. 2 months later, I suddenly realized my usually punctual period hadn't arrived. I took a pregnancy test and sure enough, I was pregnant. Shocked, I sat on the toilet, touching my belly and calling loudly for Lucas. Lucas was about to leave for work when he heard me and rushed in anxiously. "Wendy, what's wrong? Did you fall?" Under his worried gaze, I slowly held up the pregnancy test, while my other hand gently rubbed my stomach. "It's all your fault." Lucas looked at the 2 lines in disbelief, then his eyes lit up with overwhelming joy. He carefully carried me to the hospital. After a series of tests, the doctor confirmed I was 2 months pregnant. "You don't need to be overly cautious. The baby is developing well. Just come in for monthly check UPS." Lucas nodded, carefully noting this down before helping me walk out of the clinic. As we passed through the hospital lobby, we saw a stretcher being rushed through emergency. "Make way. Clear the path. We have a patient with full body infection." Lucas held me protectively in his arms as I curiously glanced over. To my surprise, I recognized the person on the stretcher. Jack lay there with a flushed face, deliriously mumbling. "I was wrong, please. I was really wrong. Give me one more chance. I want to be rich." As I frowned watching him, Jack seemed to sense something and suddenly opened his eyes to look at me. When he saw Lucas carefully touching my belly, all color drained from his face. Immediately after, doctors shouted for help with resuscitation. The patient had lost consciousness. Lucas and I exchanged smiles, held hands, and walked out of the hospital together toward our beautiful future. A few months later, I gave birth to twins. We named them Noah and Maya. Cribs. I watched our 2 babies in their cribs and Lucas busy preparing formula nearby, and smiled as I closed my eyes. After all these years, my life had finally reached the shores of happiness. I was beginning a new chapter. My name is Annie. I had a boyfriend in college, but unfortunately, he had to return home for an arranged marriage after graduation. The day before their wedding, I got Jack drunk and spent an exciting night with him. That night, I used every trick I knew to make him happy, and sure enough, the next day he couldn't bear to leave me. So I encouraged him to take me abroad with him. That's how we left Wendy behind. Once overseas, we started a small company with money Jack had stolen from his family. At first, we secured some big deals. The company was quite profitable, and we began living an extravagant lifestyle. Soon, the company started declining and faced bankruptcy. I suggested returning home for help. After all, his family was so wealthy, just a word from him and any problem could be solved. But when we returned, we discovered everything had changed. Jack's parents had declared bankruptcy the year we ran away and had disappeared. To save the company, we went to Lucas Henderson's firm. He was a famous business tycoon. If we could partner with him, our company wouldn't just survive, it would thrive. But after waiting for several days and nearly running out of money, we never saw Lucas. When we were desperate, Jack remembered he had transferred a villa to Wendy as an engagement gift before their wedding. When we entered, we found couple items everywhere: matching slippers at the door, matching mugs on the table, and a man's razor. Wendy was living there with another man. Realizing this, I felt relieved, otherwise, I'd have to worry about her trying to win Jack back. We went straight up and hit Wendy several times. A plainly dressed housekeeper came out of the house. I don't know what was going through Wendy's mind, such a large villa with hardly any servants. This made things very convenient for Jack and me. Jack dragged Wendy to the intersection as I followed closely behind them, feeling excited. The more severely he beat her, the less chance there would be of them rekindling their old relationship. Just as I was feeling smug, I realized we might have offended someone important. I had met the legendary Mr. Henderson before, but I had no idea that the old woman was his mother. Later, we were beaten by people who put sacks over our heads. It must have been Lucas who ordered it. But we didn't dare offend him. To save our company, Jack began frequently taking me to various social events. But that idiot Jack was secretly trying to contact Wendy behind my back. What a fool! Why would she give him the time of day? For his poor hygiene? Everyone knew I was the home wrecker who had lured Jack away 3 years ago. Then I received a bunch of photos showing Jack and Wendy together. I was furious and wanted to go see exactly what they were discussing. Why should he abandon me now that things were difficult, just to enjoy life on his own? That was nothing but a dream. In the hotel elevator, I saw a cleaner saying that sulfuric acid was good for getting rid of bathroom stains. I quietly slipped the sulfuric acid from her card into my pocket. Just as I was about to go find Jack, he returned. I laughed hysterically as I watched him clutching his burning skin. He would never have a good life again. I was sentenced to 10 years in prison for intentional assault. From beginning to end, it felt like some invisible hand was pushing everything forward. Seeing Wendy's contemptuous smile, I finally realized it was all her careful plan. From those photos deliberately meant to anger me to the sulfuric acid, someone had been calculating every step to lead me into the abyss. But I realized too late. I was already a prisoner. Jack was severely burned, and I had many scars too. Before I could get proper treatment, I was sent to prison. The court sentenced me to 5 years. I reluctantly looked up at Jack one last time. Did he love me? Probably yes, otherwise he wouldn't have left his fiancée to run away with me. But no was also true. He would abandon me for money too. This was my retribution, and Jack's as well. I would spend the rest of my life in prison. A few months later, the burned areas on my body began to ooze pus. Then I developed a high fever and was rushed to the hospital. That's when I learned Jack had already died from infection. I probably wouldn't escape the same fate. On my deathbed, I discovered that something had been added to the sulfuric acid, something that caused a silent, undetectable infection leading to death. In my next life, I'll never cross her path again. With those thoughts, I closed my eyes as a tear of regret rolled down my cheek.